Hey everybody, welcome to the newest episode of The Bearded Gamer Show. As always, I am your host, The Bearded Gamer. Yeah, looking steadily today, Chris Arnone. Before we head into the news, I do want to tell you I have just now recently launched forums up on beardedgamershow.com. So you can go check those out, discuss all things, gaming, comic books, nerdy, beardy, all that. That's the place to go. All right, guys, good news, bad news. First up is a piece of good news. Now, Hard Reset was a pretty cool game, a bit flawed, but still pretty cool. And I enjoyed it. I really like cyberpunk stuff, but it did seem a bit incomplete. Well, they now announced they're bringing out Hard Reset, the Extended Edition. Now, this is going to have a whole slew of upgraded things. Upgraded graphics engine, new enemies, new levels for survival mode, 2 more hours of gameplay, 5 new levels, a new boss, and a new backstory section. So they're really just sort of bulking up the game that was there already, and you can see from the screenshot roll here that it obviously looks a bit better than it did previously. Now, this could be looked at one of these things. Well, this is the game that probably should have come out originally, and I do agree with you. It seems like they sort of did a half-assed job on the original when you see what they did with this extended version. But hey, at least it's here now. So if you didn't pay for Hard Reset, good for you. You can jump on this extended version and get a much better game all around. Just some straight-up news. Now, this is kind of funny. There was, all this he said, she said crap with Sony about Kaz Hirai becoming the next CEO. They were denying it, saying they didn't have any plans. Well, now they've officially announced that, yes, Kaz Hirai will be the next CEO of Sony Corporation. He is taking over for Sir Howard Stringer on April 1st, and then starting in June, Sir Howard Stringer will become chairman of the board of directors for Sony. So looks like Mr. Stringer is going to get about 2-month vacation, and yes, indeed, Kaz Hirai will be the head of Sony here in a couple months. All right, and some more good news. Now, most of you would probably venture to say that selling games via digital distribution is probably a cheaper method than selling them with physical copies. You're right. But here's the good news part. It has been confirmed that games on PlayStation Vita sold through the PlayStation Network, sold digitally only, will be cheaper than the physical versions by a factor of at least 10%. And that'll vary from game to game. But still, that's a great piece of news. And I think it really makes a more compelling argument for digital distribution. Most gamers are pretty vehemently against it. They want to own their physical copy. Some people are collectors. I'm personally not. And then, of course, you have the secondary market. You can buy used games. You can sell your game after you've played it. You can rent, like I use GameFly. But then you now have this other option of, if you want to get a game new and you don't plan to get rid of it, well, you can buy the digital version and it doesn't take up any extra real estate in your home, and it's going to be cheaper. So I think it's a good model for Sony to go at, is not abandoning the physical domain by any means, but giving people an incentive to go after that digital version. All right. Finish up good news, bad news with a piece of just straight up news. I can't call it good or bad, really. We have a date. That date is March 31st. This is the day when Bungie will officially hand off Halo to 343 Industries, permanently, full-time basis. Now, we've known this has been coming for a long time, that Bungie was no longer under this exclusivity deal with Microsoft, was free to go off on their own, but Halo belongs to Microsoft. They did purchase the rights and created 343 Industries pretty much just to do this, just to handle Halo, because it's such a big franchise and so important to them. But that is indeed the day that will happen. So starting March 31st, any updates to Halo Reach or Combat Evolved Anniversary will be done through 343. Any subsequent Halo games, including Halo 4 and anything after that, will all be 343 Industries. So we will just have to wait and see if 343 can hold the bar as high as it's been set by Bungie with Halo. So here's hoping. It's a great franchise, and it's hoping they carry it forward the right way. Enough with the news. Time for the pull list. So it's time once again for me to talk comic books. Now, it's about an episode late this week, so these books are already out on their store shelves by the time you're going to see this, but that's okay. They should still be there. None of these are like the super high demand top 10 sellers or anything. Why would I recommend those? They're already selling well. I recommend other stuff. All right, first up is Doctor Who number 14. Now, this is the second volume, but number 14. Now, this is a special issue that's going to be written by Eisner nominee Joshua Hale Fialkov, I hope I pronounced that right, and it's going to be set in movie period Casablanca. And now, I'm a big fan of the show. I think it's really awesome. I've just recently gotten into it, but I love it. And I've read a few issues of the comic, and I've been kind of lukewarm on it, but this issue is special. This issue is really cool. It's a nice little one-off, and it's got such a great vibe, a great feel, that sort of old-timey movie feel to it. And I could just so see them turning this into an episode. I think it would just be fantastic. So if you're a fan of Doctor Who, even if maybe you haven't really picked up the series, the comic series, I definitely recommend this one issue at least. All right, my next recommendation is Red Lantern #6. Now, I'm a huge Green Lantern fan. Not the movie. That crap fest can go, no. But the actual comic book character and the comics I really enjoyed, and I really liked what Jeff Johns did with this whole Blackest Night thing and the whole Skittles-tacular, Taste the Rainbow variations of the lanterns, including Red, which is the one that's based on Rage. Now, this newest lantern called Rancor, no, it's not spelled like the one in Star Wars, but close. It has 2 R's. I mean, that's really the only difference. But anyway, he's a human, and he's grief-stricken and rage-stricken, and I got a preview of this issue, and I tell you what, it's so emotionally deep. The things that this guy has been through that's led him down this path to becoming this Red Lantern, and it's a great title. It's a great read for anyone who's a fan of Green Lantern or any of the other lanterns, and just real well-written, great art, just great issue, classic DC stuff. All right, number 3 is Outcast #3. That's also called Valen the Outcast. I found a few different versions online. I haven't seen the physical book myself. I've just gotten the preview PDF. So I'm not sure which is going to actually be on the cover, what's going to say Valen the Outcast or just Outcast. But nevertheless, it's about this guy who is a slain king who comes back to life. He's risen as one of the Walking Dead by an evil necromancer. And so it's sort of like Zombies meets King Conan, but it really works well. I mean, it's a really deep emotional connection with this guy, and just such a sense of betrayal. It's really got this sort of Greek level of tragedy going on with it that works really well, of course, with the sort of high fantasy action stuff at the same time, which is such a cool blend. It's sort of, like Game of Thrones with zombies in a way, but it's really cool. I highly recommend it, and it was just such a gem. It really took me by surprise. It's not from a company I'm really that familiar with, but it's a really neat book, and I can't recommend it enough. All right, last one, Winter Soldier #1. I love finding #1s that look good because it's a great place for people to jump in on, and this is no exception. Now, I've been a fan of Winter Soldier since he was first introduced and the whole intrigue that surrounded him, and then finally revealed that it was Bucky, but just really well done. Well, this new series has him paired up with the Black Widow as this pair of sort of super spies. And so if you're a fan of either character, this is going to be a real fun read, brand new #1 issue. And the big baddie they're going after in the very first issue, Dr. Doom. I mean, one of the biggest, baddest guys in the Marvel U right out of the gate. So it's just great fun. If you're a fan of Marvel, fan of Captain America, fan of Winter Soldier, Dr. Doom, or Black Widow, I mean, this is just a great read, really fun read. Highly recommend. All right, guys, enough for comics. Time to finish up with an extra large controller confessional. So February is now upon us, and so now the releases are going to really start. January is always sort of this lull time, December and January, where you don't get a whole lot of games coming out. We just take it back, we kick back, relax, catch up on all the games that came in over the holidays, and we get ready for February, where the games really start to roll out, and then of course into March, when it really starts to get going. And so this made me wonder, what are my 10 most anticipated games of 2012? Well, you know what? I couldn't keep it to 10. I tried, and this is even including the fact that XCOM was delayed to 2013. I just couldn't keep it down to 10. So, 15. I don't have enough fingers even. 15 most anticipated games of 2012. Of course, this is all pre-E3, and there's going to be a whole mess of new things that will totally reorder the list at that point. All right, you ready? Here we go. Number 15, Spec Ops The Line. Now, this is a game that I haven't really seen for a while. 2K didn't have it at E3 2011, but they did have it back at 2010. And I thought it was really cool. Now, at first, it kind of looks like a fairly standard military shooter, okay, yeah, we've seen a bunch of these. But then, well, first off, it has Nolan North doing one of the main voices. always cool. And then there's this whole sand mechanic, and sand is so omnipresent. It's set in Dubai after this big battle, and you're going around, and they're showing stuff like in that clip, there's some glass, and you shoot at the glass, and the sand pours in and takes out a group of enemies. And there's going to be sand storms, and just sand is just such this character and this presence in the game, and I think that really set it apart. But it's also still number 15 on my list, all the way at the bottom, because it does, have that possibility that could wind up just being another military shooter and nothing special. But I really have high hopes for it. I thought it looked pretty cool back in 2010. Haven't heard much from it, but it is slated to come out this year. So, fingers crossed, it's more than just a standard military shooter. Spec Ops The Line. Number 14, The Last Guardian. I go, all the way down at number 14. I know, but here's the thing. Where the hell is it? All right, we were supposed to see it in 2010, and it didn't happen. We were supposed to see it in 2011, and it didn't happen. Now it's 2012, and people are freaking jumping ship. They're leaving Sony. They're leaving the project. They're going off to do other things, and it's really starting to dig deeper and deeper into development hell. I'm looking forward to this game. I loved Eco and Shadow of the Colossus. These guys make such unique, curious tales that are just so different in the world of gaming. Will The Last Guardian be canon to the other games? Will it be just a continuation or somewhere sequentially in that story? Will it be completely on its own, standing apart from the rest? We don't know, but it looks gorgeous, and it looks fun, and it looks, once again, as everything they've done, so different from anything else out there. And, of course, we're all very much looking forward to it, but I have to put it at number 14 because it's like, where the hell is it? We still have no confirmation of a release date or release window. Who knows? Maybe we'll see it this year. Maybe, it'll be the next Duke Nukem Forever, and we'll get it sometime, before I retire. God only knows. All right. Number 13, Uncharted Golden Abyss. Now, I'm a huge fan of Uncharted and Naughty Dog's work in general. I got to play this one actually at E3 this last year, and I tell you, it was really cool. It looks great, and I liked a lot of the new mechanics that they brought into it with the PlayStation Vita, that really impressive new piece of hardware. You can tap on that front touchscreen for some of the melee combos. If you want to use the sniper rifle, you actually sort of do an augmented reality where you're actually moving the PlayStation Vita around like your sniper scope. And just a few other things like that. And, it's an in-canon, brand new story, and I'm very excited for that. But, I also look at what happened with God of War. I love God of War, the 3 main games that were on PS2, PS3, and then it had their PSP versions, which I thought were good, but not as good. And so that's, why it's not higher up on my list. Even though it's an Uncharted, it is this portable version made by a different studio, and so, will it really hold up to the Uncharted level, that level that's set so high? I don't know, but I'm still looking forward to it, still excited about it, not only that game, but the hardware in general, so looking forward to that at the end of this month. Okay, number 12 is Metro Last Light. Now, I got to review Metro 2033 when it first came out. It was kind of funny because at the time I was one of the few reviewers on Gamer Review that had a 360, and here was this game. I was looking for something to review that month, read the synopsis, said, that's different, that's kind of cool, I'll pick it up, and it was awesome. Not perfect, not, the best game ever. It had its shortcomings, but it was such a cool story. It sucked you in so fast, and the vast majority of reviewers and journalists out there have sort of advocated Metro 2033 as this sort of game no one played that you should, and it was a great game. Well, now there's a sequel coming out, Metro Last Light, and I love it when a game that's great, even maybe if it didn't have the sales, gets greenlit by, in this case, THQ, to go ahead and make another one, to keep it going and make it bigger and better. And hopefully there's enough hype behind it now from the journalists, from people who have played it, that the second one will get going real well. And also, hopefully, THQ and the developers will listen to what we've had to say, the journalists, the fans, everyone, and make Last Light just so much better even than 2033 was. So, very looking forward to that. Should be a great game. Number 11, The Last of Us. Now, I've already said I'm a big fan of Naughty Dog. And when I first saw this trailer, they announced it at the Spike VGAs, I just thought, wow, this kind of reminds me a little bit of sort of the Dead Island trailer, how it just connects with you on a rather emotional level. But it also, more than that, reminded me of Cormac McCarthy's The Road. Now, a lot of you will have probably seen the movie The Road. Fewer cross-section of you, smaller cross-section, may have even read the book. Well, I've done both. and it's just a fantastic, very hard to swallow, very difficult movie and book, but it's very, very good. And this very much reminded me of that. As sort of, it's this older man and this teenage girl, and they're alone against the world. All they have is each other, and an incredibly deep, dynamic relationship that comes from the age difference there. A girl of that age is being forced to sort of be an adult when you're in a sort of post-apocalyptic world like that, and what that does to them, and how they have to grow as companions to forge through this sort of desolate, destroyed world. And I really think if you're going to put any studio in charge of dealing with that kind of depth of emotional relationship, it's got to be Naughty Dog. I mean, they've really proven with Uncharted they can dig deep into a relationship and make it seem so real and so just work. Now, after all that wonderful praise, why is it only number 11 on my list? Well, we don't know a whole lot about it other than that trailer. We haven't seen much in the way of gameplay. There's a lot of questions up in the air, a lot of things we don't know. So I can't, gush on that end. All I can gush on is, well, it looks cool so far. But very much looking forward to it sometime the end of this year. Number 10, into the top 10 finally, right? Halo 4, right? Because it's got to be in here. Now, initially, I'm probably going to get, once again, a big reaction. Oh my God, why is it all the way down at number 10? It's freaking Halo, right? Well, I'm not one of your more traditional Halo fans. I didn't really start playing the series until Reach, and that was only because I played it with someone else, and I was like, oh, I get it. This is what all the big fuss is about. I never owned an original Xbox, so I didn't really play the other ones much. But, it is a great series, great multiplayer game, great story, great fiction that they've woven there, but there's still some, questions, okay? It is completely 343 Industries this time. Will they accomplish what has been accomplished before with the series? Will it step backwards? Or will they just make some brand new innovations we can't even imagine that will just make it all the more awesome? But nevertheless, it is a new Halo game, which means, by all rights, it should be just amazing. And so very much looking forward to that one once again this year. All right, number 9, Alan Wake's American Nightmare. Now, I'm a big fan of Alan Wake. I know I keep saying I'm a big fan of a lot of this stuff, but it's true. That's why it's in my top 15 list. Duh. Anyway, now this is an XBLA title, which is why it's not higher up on the list, because it's not, while they're saying it is a sort of a full, brand new Alan Wake, it can't be as big, as sweeping as a full $60 retail game. But nevertheless, it looks really cool. It's a standalone, brand new story. It's going to have some new modes that weren't introduced in the previous. But I really enjoy the series, the storytelling, the characters, and that great combat system where it relies on light and dark. And light is your weapon. Light is your friend. Light heals you. And the original Alan Wake just created such moments of tension when you were running low on batteries, you're running low on ammo. You're running as fast as you can, throwing every flare and everything you've got just to survive to the next lamppost. And it had you on the edge of your seat so much. So very much looking forward to that one. Coming out here, I believe in March, Alan Wake's American Nightmare. It should be great. All right, number 8, Assassin's Creed 3, or, well, whatever they're going to call this new Assassin's Creed. Almost everybody is a fan of this series, and don't act like you're shocked. Oh no, there's going to be a new Assassin's Creed this year? Really? Oh, color me amazed. Come on, please. It's like saying, oh yeah, there's going to be a new Call of Duty and a new Madden this year. Yeah, that's kind of how it works. But I'm excited. I think most people are excited that we're finally leaving Ezio behind. Personally, I was ready to move on from him after 2, but then Brotherhood was fantastic. And then when I was ready to move on from him after Brotherhood, and then they did Revelations, which was okay. I mean, still better than a lot of games, but it was a letdown from Brotherhood. And so we're finally moving on past Ezio. Now, will this just be set in the 21st century where it's just Desmond? Or will we go somewhere else? I'm voting for something like, feudal Japan or Tsar-era Russia, something like that. Some people have said maybe, U.S. Civil War era. Who knows? But I'm excited to go to a new ancestor, a brand new place, a different set of skills maybe. I'm very excited for this to go somewhere else. I thought that was really one of the biggest attractions for me with Assassin's Creed, is that it could go to all these different places and times and still have this cohesive story with Desmond, and they haven't really done that. They've sort of stuck with Ezio and then spiced in Altair back into the end of it. But come on, let's break out of it. Let's go places. Let's meet new people, please. Okay, number 7, Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. Now, we got a first glimpse of this, I believe, at E3 2010. Don't quote me on that. Definitely saw a lot more of it at E3 2011. And this cut mechanic just looks so cool and so fun. Now, a lot of people don't like Raiden. I'm like, you know what? I thought he was a pretty cool character, especially when he went all cyborg ninja like he is, in this clip, and he's going to be all in this game. It just looks like fun. I mean, you're a cyborg ninja with a sword going into a gunfight, but you're a badass, so it's going to work great. And the fact that you can slice any direction you want, and the complex physics engine that they're putting into that to make it work, just looks great. Plus, you're going to have all that classic, Metal Gear, stealth and humor and off-beaten Hideo Kojima crazy weird stuff that he just does, that he just never takes his games too seriously. So, fan of Metal Gear Solid, looking forward to this brand new franchise that's spinning out of it with Metal Gear Rising. All right, number 6 is Tomb Raider. Now, this is the brand new relaunch of Tomb Raider. I tell you what, I've never been a huge fan of the series. I've played some games. I know, right? Everything else, I'm a huge fan. Not this. Never been a huge fan of the Tomb Raider games. I've played some, and I just kind of went, not really my thing. And then I saw this E3 trailer, and my mind, she was blown. This looks awesome. It looks completely different, and it's got sort of an Uncharted vibe. Now, a lot of people are going to say, of course, well, Uncharted gets its vibe from Tomb Raider. Well, it's coming back around. That they're basically saying, Tomb Raider did this, and Uncharted looked at that, said, let's do some of that stuff, and then do a whole bunch of awesome stuff on top of that. Well, now Tomb Raider's coming back around and saying, well, let's look at Uncharted and see what they did different, and see what they did that was cool, and incorporate some of that into our new game. And it looks just so different, so great, so much more real. It seems like Lara Croft is so much more of a fleshed out, real human character, with interacting with these big set pieces. And like I said, a lot of it reminds me of Uncharted, except I think there may be a little less gameplay, a little more spelunking, because that's more the style of Tomb Raider, but it looks phenomenal. I was a little disappointed at E3 last year when they said, okay, it'll be out end of next year. I was like, But then again, I'm like, hey, that means we'll alternate years between Uncharted and Tomb Raider, and I can keep my adventure spelunking thing going all the time. Awesome. All right, number 5, Borderlands 2. I come back to it, I'm a huge fan of the first one. Okay, I keep saying that, but you know what, it's true. I've probably beaten Borderlands 4 times. Beat it by myself once, went through a second time, played it online with some people, played it with some friends locally, all the way through. I've played this game a lot. It's just got so many things I enjoy. It's got a great story, it's got some of that Fallout-esque humor, the first 2 Fallouts, let's be very clear. That sort of humor, a great art style, and it's fantastic fun with friends. And it's got that whole Diablo sort of the never-ending quest for better crap thing with the trillions of potential guns. And so it's just fantastic fun. I got to see, of course, this new game working at PAX, and it just looks great. It's like there are so many things in Borderlands 2 that they've improved that like when they tell you they're going to change it and improve it, you go, wow, I didn't even realize that was broken to begin with. But they're making it better. And it looks like it's going to be one of those sequels that makes the first obsolete. And when the first one was that good, that's just hugely high praise. So Borderlands 2, cannot wait for that game. Neither can all my friends. There's going to be a whole bunch of us buying that game together and playing it together. All right, number 4. Did I just talk about this? Diablo 3. Oh, yes. Don't know when it'll come out this year, but I'm pretty sure we'll see it this year. Now, I'm an old school Diablo fan. I'm talking original Diablo and the Hellfire expansion, Diablo 2, and the Lord of Destruction expansion. I played this game a lot. Every character class, beaten it, gone through many times. Love it. And so, of course, I'm looking forward to Diablo 3. Not a World of Warcraft fan. I suck at RTS games, so I don't do StarCraft. So for Blizzard, my money is right on Diablo. And I've played through the beta, I think, 3-4 times now. The different character classes, the new auction house. There's just so much going into this. And after so long since the previous game, it's just... I'm about vibrating with excitement over this new game, and like Borderlands, I have just a group of friends who are all lined up waiting for this game to drop and hit store shelves so we can all sweep in, buy it, jump online and play together, and it's going to be awesome. All right, number 3, Mass Effect 3, of course. And you've heard me talk how much I love this franchise before. Big fan of BioWare, big fan of the Mass Effect franchise. Played the first 2, and finally we're going to get the conclusion to this big story. Now, do I think that means they're going to be done with Mass Effect? No, it's a big sci-fi universe. It's very easy to, go off and grab a brand new set of characters and put them in a brand new situation in this fictional universe that they've created with Mass Effect. But this third one just looks to be fantastic. They're introducing some multiplayer, which hopefully will be good for me, as long as it doesn't detract from the single player. I don't care. It's all good to me. I'm sure it's just a reason for EA to tack their online pass onto it without making themselves seem like more douchebaggy than they are. But anyway, looks to be phenomenal. Brand new engine that they're using. You saw it used on the PS3 version of Mass Effect 2 to some effect, but I'm sure it'll be a lot better. They'll have worked out a lot of the kinks and made it just awesome for this version of the game. I cannot wait to find out how this story ends, and of course, to see how it may end differently for different people, because there's this huge string of decisions we've been making for 2 games now leading in to this third game. So looking forward to it. Number 2, and this is going to be weird compared to other people's lists, but here it is, SSX. I love the SSX franchise, okay? I remember back in college, my roommate Jared and I got official PlayStation magazine, and it came with a demo disc, and it had a demo for SSX Tricky. We played that demo for hours, and all it had was the first mount in Garibaldi, and you couldn't even finish it. But we would just pass the controller back and forth, trying to get the high score on that thing. Then we got the whole game, probably lost 2 weeks worth of college to just playing that game. Then SSX 3 came, and that was freaking brilliant too. And since then, the franchise has kind of faltered. There was SSX on Tour, which felt like they sort of half-assed it. They brought in skis instead of the whole mountain you could explore. They went back to a menu-based system with these really ugly graffiti graphics. It was just, felt like they just rushed to get another SSX out. And then there was Blur, which was okay, but if you were a hardcore SSX fan and you knew your controls, you didn't want to just waggle the Wii stuff. It wasn't the same experience. That's all we've really had. We have not had one on an HD console. So I'm just about ready to explode, waiting for the end of this month when SSX drops, and I will be indeed reviewing it for Gamer Review. Can't wait for that one. So, we're down to it. What is my number 1? Now, it's probably not that hard to figure out if you really know games and know what's missing here. And you've probably heard me talk about it before. BioShock Infinite. Now, I remember at E3, I was between 2 games for Best of Show. That was The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim and this game right here, BioShock Infinite. And the one key difference, heart. I love Skyrim. I've talked a lot about Skyrim, but it doesn't have that heart. It doesn't have that emotional connection. It's a fantastic game. There's so much to do in it. It's so much fun to have. But in this trailer, and I actually grabbed the clip purposefully that shows it was at their E3 demonstration when the songbird grabs Elizabeth and she turns around and looks at you, reaches out a hand, and tears are streaming down her face, and then gets pulled away. That was it. I felt my heart just go, and that was when I knew that was Best of Show, and that is still my most anticipated game. I love story-driven video games and shooters, and I'm a huge fan of the first BioShock. I even enjoyed the second BioShock. Was it as good? No, but it was still enjoyable. And this one just looks phenomenal. Everything about it just screams that there's this connection that you're going to form. Sort of reminds me of Enslaved Odyssey to the West, how there was this relationship between Trip and Monkey that by the time you get toward 3/4 through the game, you're in it. You're in that relationship with them, and this sort of has that feel, and I'm so looking forward to this game. It looks gorgeous. It's the original team, Irrational Games, behind the first BioShock, which was just fantastic. One of my top 3 games of all time, and I cannot adequately put into words how excited I am for BioShock Infinite, my most anticipated game of 2012. Okay, guys. What do you think? What are your most anticipated? What did I miss? I know I was kind of lacking on Nintendo, but what can I say? I'm not a big Nintendo guy. But give me your comments. Tell me what you love, what you hated. I revel in your comments. Once a week, I print them off, and I roll around naked in them. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. Why do you care? It's funny. Anyway, that's it for this time. I know it went a little long. We'll see you next time.